Have you ever used an app and just thought, wow, this is so easy? Well, that's not an accident. It's not magic, and it's not always about some super complicated tech. It's actually about a process that's designed to understand people just like you and me. So let's pull back the curtain and take a look at the blueprint for building experiences that just feel right.
So here's our game plan. We're going to start with a really simple analogy, planning a party, just to get our heads around the whole thing. Then we'll dive into the big steps, first getting to know the people we're designing for, then sketching out our ideas, and of course, testing them. And we'll wrap it all up by looking at the mindset that really holds this whole process together.
All right, so what exactly is the user experience process, or UX for short? Well, at its heart, it's really just a path that designers follow to solve problems. And probably the best way to understand it is to think of it like you're planning a really, really great party.
I mean, it makes total sense when you put it that way, right? You'd never throw a party without knowing what kind of music your friends are into or what food they like. It's the same exact idea here. You ask what they like, that's your research. You sketch out a plan for the party, that's basically wireframing. You visualize it, maybe set up some decorations to see how it looks. That's your prototype. And then you check in during the party to see if everyone's having a good time. Simple.
Okay, so here's the official map for our journey. This is the UX workflow. It's a cycle of 5 key stages: research, ideation, prototyping, testing, and iteration. Let's kick things off with the absolute foundation of it all: research.
Everything, and I really do mean everything, in great design starts right here. It's all about deeply understanding the people you are trying to help. You've got to know your people.
This is so crucial. Think about it. Imagine you plan a huge surprise party for a friend. You go all out, get this giant chocolate cake, only to find out they hate chocolate. That's exactly what happens when we design without doing our homework. We just make guesses, and a lot of the time, we guess wrong. The whole point is to design with empathy, not assumptions.
So how do we actually learn about people? Well, one of the best ways is to just talk to them. User interviews are all about having conversations to understand someone's world. And the real secret here? You have to go deeper than the first answer. Ask things like, oh, that's interesting. Can you tell me more about that? Or why is that so important to you? That's where you find the gold. And you don't need a fancy lab, just a quiet spot, a notebook, and a real curiosity to listen.
Now, talking to people is great, but watching them? That can be even more powerful. This is where observation comes in. When you watch people in their element, at a market, in their office, you see the real story unfold. You spot the little struggles and the clever workarounds they'd never even think to tell you about. The hardest part, you have to resist that urge to jump in and help. You need to let them struggle just a little bit to see where the real problems are hiding.
Okay, so we've listened, we've watched, and now our brains are buzzing with all these amazing insights. So what's next? It's time to take all of that good stuff and turn it into an actual blueprint.
Before anyone builds a house, the architect draws up a floor plan, right? It just shows you where the rooms are, where the doors go, where the windows will be. A wireframe does the exact same thing, but for a website or an app. It has nothing to do with pretty colors or cool fonts. It's all about structure, layout, and function. Where does everything go?
And where does this blueprint even start? With what we call low-fidelity wireframes. Honestly, these are just quick, simple sketches. They're supposed to be fast and messy. The whole point is just to get your ideas out of your head and onto paper without worrying about it being perfect.
Then, from those rough sketches, you move into something a bit more structured, usually on a computer. A mid-fidelity wireframe cleans things up. It makes the layout way clearer and forces you to think more about where exactly your buttons and text are going to live.
And finally, you get to high fidelity. At this point, the design looks almost exactly like the finished product. You're adding in all the visual details to get a really clear picture of the final look and feel, just before you make it interactive so people can actually test it out.
But here's what I really want you to take away from this section. Don't let those super polished final images scare you. This entire super important process can start with the most basic tools imaginable. Seriously, pen and paper are more than enough. No laptop, no wahala.
All right, we have our blueprint. Now it's time to actually bring it to life so we can see if it works for real people. This is the phase where we build a test version and then make it better and better based on what we find out.
So a prototype is basically a clickable wireframe. It's a simulation. It looks and feels like the real product, but it's not. And why is this so important? Because it lets you find all the problems and fix them before a single line of code gets written. That saves a mind-blowing amount of time and money. So you test your prototype, and you get a bunch of feedback. What do you do with it? You iterate. And I'm telling you, there is no better way to understand what iteration means than to think about cooking a perfect pot of jollof rice. Think about it. The first time you make the rice, you taste it, and maybe it's a little too salty. So what do? Next time? You adjust. You don't throw the whole recipe away and start from zero. You taste it, you tweak the ingredients, you try again. That cycle of improving it over and over, that is iteration.
And when you're testing your design or, tasting your rice, these are the kinds of things you're trying to figure out. You're looking for those spots where people get confused or frustrated, so you know exactly which ingredients you need to adjust in your next version.
Okay, so we've walked through all the practical steps, the what to do. But just as important, if not more so, is the mindset behind all of it, the how to think. And this is where a philosophy called design thinking enters the picture.
Now, what's so cool here is how perfectly this way of thinking lines up with the actions we just talked about. Empathize and design thinking, that's just the mindset you have when you're doing user research. Ideate is the creative brainstorming behind wireframing. And prototype and test, well, those are the exact same concepts. They're really just two sides of the very same coin.
So, to boil it all down to its simplest form, design thinking is the mindset. It's how you think. The UX steps we went through, those are the actions. That's what you do. And you really, really need both the philosophy and the plan to build something incredible.
And that really brings us to the most important point of this entire conversation. After seeing all these steps and diagrams, it's so easy to think you need expensive software or some special degree to do this. But you absolutely do not. The heart of this entire process is just empathy. It's about genuinely caring about the person you're trying to help.
So I'll just leave you with this one thought to chew on. We've seen that real research can start with just a conversation, and a great design can start with a simple sketch. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Could the most basic tools that every single one of us already has, pen, paper, and people, could that really be all you need to start creating experiences that other people will truly love?
Like, share, and subscribe.